What's up, guys? I played another game with the black pieces today, and I managed to win this one. They started off with 1e4. I play the Caro-Kann, so that's what we're going to do. He plays the advanced Caro-Kann and pushes past. I like playing c5, but bishop f5 is the main move. I play bishop f5, and he immediately challenges my bishop with his bishop. And in the Caro-Kann, if I could get his light square bishop for mine, I'm happy with that, because it's a strong attacking piece for him. So when he offers the trade, I just get rid of mine, get rid of his. I can close my pawn chain in peace. I also happen to know that after this trade, the queen comes here, and I have this idea um, to try to immediately equalize with black. And that's basically bringing my queen out with check. And regardless of how he blocks it, right? Doesn't matter. Regardless of how he blocks it, my main goal, the check is just a tempo so that I can get my queen here in one move. And what this does is it offers the queen trade. If he avoids the queen trade, then my queen will be on a light square diagonal that he can't contest because he doesn't have a light square bishop. And so if he trades the queens, I'm happy because I get to develop my knight, as well as control the c5 square another time. And if he doesn't trade, then I get this light square diagonal, and it's almost like a replacement light bishop for me. So he develops his knight here. I'm not sure why, maybe just to, because he wants to play f4, probably. So I give the check, um, and he blocks it. Like I said, it doesn't matter how he blocks because my main goal is actually to go here. And a lot of times, this knight will actually be here. So if he doesn't trade, it actually also stops him from castling. In this case, the knight's here, but he takes it. So I take back with my knight, of course, putting another guy here so I could push c5. He castles. I just push c5 right away. You can also develop one of these pieces, but since there's no queens on the board, no light squared bishop on the board, I'm not worried about opening this diagonal too early. And so if I can get c5 in, I'm just going to get it in. So that's what I do. Now I develop this knight. And that's nice this is here, because if he takes, I can always recapture the, here, because my bishop currently is blocked for one move. So he develops to his only available square. I develop here. Um, Natural square, pressuring the d4 square, opening up my bishop. So okay. I'm just doing normal stuff. Okay. So he takes his knight, and very in Alapin style, he goes to the c2 square as opposed to the b5 square. I'm not sure why he chose, but it's fine. I just continue my development. That seems to make sense. He plays f4, expanding on this side where he should be playing in the direction of his pawn chain. Um, so basically, white's counterplay is going to be f5, this square. Something happening on this square. Even if he prepares it, the breakthrough will be here. And so I just play g6 just so I don't have to deal with it. I mean, he'll still eventually play it, but I mean, this is covered. A knight can potentially go here and cover it again, but at the very least, it stops the immediate f5. Um, and it's a common move in Caro-Kann, these two moves with this pawn chain. This controlling here, this controlling here. So it made sense to me. He goes a3, creates a weakness here. I'm assuming his idea is to go b4, where if I take, he opens up. I'm guessing. I don't see why else he would do that. Um, Unless he thought I would take and plant something here. I don't know. So anyway, because he created this square weakness, and I didn't know what to do. Like I can obviously castle, or maybe put a rook here. Um, but he created this weakness, and I saw this was forkable. I saw that, I'm never going to win anything, and trading isn't to my immediate benefit, I don't think. So I just thought that maybe one of these squares might be nicer for the knight, just a little more troublesome. So I put it here, just eyeing these two squares. It seems sensible enough. It is weird. I don't think I've ever had both knights on the rim like this. Kind of makes sense though. They both at least are doing something. So he does go b4, which apparently was the plan from a3. But now I'm just going to jump this knight somewhere with tempo. In both cases, it comes with tempo. I chose this one because if I go to this one um, and he defends the bishop, my knight's kind of stuck. It has no moves unless I want to trade for the bishop. Whereas if I go here, it comes with tempo. It's protected by a pawn. Can't be attacked by a rook or something. Um, it also has squares, but doesn't need them because it's protected. So I chose this one. He retreats the bishop, which I don't know. It cuts off the rooks, but I guess it's fine. And I liked my position here. Like I would rather be black here. Um, Here I also wasn't sure what to do. Like this knight's, placed well. This knight is not placed well, but currently needs to hit c5 until I get rid of my pawn. My bishop is, where else if not here? I can castle, but other than castling, maybe h5, maybe rook c8. I don't know, taking and taking, they only help my opponent. So I figured he's attacking it. I either have to take or defend it with a pawn, because otherwise he's just going to win the game. And if I take, it brings his knight central. If I take here, he can take here or bring his knight. Um, it both look like they helped him, and I didn't want to help him because his pieces look kind of awkward. So I played b6, just so if he takes, I can maintain everything. So he improves his knight and challenges my strong knight, debatably strong knight. Um, here, here. Yeah, he's gonna take it. I mean, I actually have no legal moves that don't hang the knight. So I either have to take it or just let him take me. So I just castled at this point. There's definitely other moves. You could take the knight, probably. You can take a pawn, probably. But they all seem pretty even. Like, whichever move you pick, they all seem kind of to do not much. They're to keep the game pretty level. So he goes g4. What's he threatening? He's threatening to push f5. What are the drawbacks? Opens up his king a little. Loses control of these squares. Nothing I can do anything with. So it's my move. And I went rook to c8, trying to activate another piece, and also when I take, have pressure down the c file. The computer says it's a mistake. Um, why would that be a mistake? If he takes if he takes my knight and I recapture, I don't understand. If he pushes, I go back here, I have a good square, and if he takes and I take, and he takes my pawn somehow, and I take his pawn, he can't take because I have three pieces to develop here. Um, what's his best? Knight takes c4, d takes c4. That's what I just looked at. So why is this not good? Is it because it removes the light square guy, and so if he pushes these together, um, well, it's his move. So like, what's his move? Oh, let me go back. So what's his move? F5. Yeah, so F5. If I take the G pawn and he recaptures and I recapture, his rook can take, my king's open. He's going to have bishop h6 as well as pushing this pawn, as well as king over and rook over. And if he pushes and I don't take, if I just move a rook, he can push further. Okay, so if I'm not moving my rook over, boom, boom, it says c takes d. So if c takes d, he will, what's he gonna do? He could take my knight, he could take the pawn. If he takes the pawn, and then I put a rook on the c file, so his whole plan was f5. So if I do something forcing, he doesn't have f5. Is that the idea? No, because rook f d8 also works. And so if they try the same thing with f5, now what's the difference? The difference is that if we take c takes d here, but then this pawn's hanging. And then, so if takes, knight takes, rook has to go somewhere. And so in the other line, if I moved my rook here, and he did this, and I did this, no, it's different. Why are all the nuances so different with these different moves? The engine keeps suggesting different little things. Like they suggested he took back with the pawn, not the knight all of a sudden. Now they're suggesting instead of, okay, they're also still suggesting knight takes e5. But if we go down that same line, it's the same thing. Yeah, I'm not really, it says this is a mistake, but I don't know why. Like I don't know how this and this, maybe, I don't know. I don't know. It's definitely concrete, and the engine's just too confusing for me right now. So he did play f5, which is what he should do. What did I play? Okay, I wanted to just clarify, although maybe I shouldn't have because it develops his bishop. Although at the same time it takes another guy off of the f5 square, so he can have a recapture with the knight. So he takes. Still looks kind of, winnable for everyone. Three result game. I now clarify the center, and now I have to deal with this. So I choose to ignore. I don't want to take and weaken this pawn. I don't want to take and after take open up my king as well as have to deal with the f pawn. And I also don't want him to push and have my bishop trapped. So I said instead of taking, which obviously the computer can play nicely with, let me do something that's easy for me to do and makes sense. So moving the bishop to one of these squares makes sense to me. And now that his bishop moved off of this diagonal, I took it. Also so it can't be trapped. And I figured if he wants to push, he doesn't have a queen, so it's not the end of the world. At least my bishop is out. He did push, which makes sense for endgames. This is super weak. And then my knight is clearly doing nothing. Before it was at least protecting, supporting this pawn. But now the pawn's gone. This knight needs to not be here. And surprisingly, knight b8 is the best. Not surprisingly, but funnily enough, knight b8 is the best move. Just to reroute it to a good square. He lifts the rook, potentially here or potentially, well, it has to be there because doubling doesn't do anything. Also, I guess defending. So I develop my knight. I could have also thrown in my rook here first, but I don't know. The knight just looked not like a very natural move to me. Getting it in the game, hitting his bishop, not doing much else. He just improves his position with the king. And I want my rooks. Basically, I need piece activity, and my rooks can only be active on the c file. So I wanted to get rid of this knight, which is in the way. So I took his bishop. Um, and basically, if he takes with the pawn, I can infiltrate or double. If he takes with the knight, we still have the weak c3 pawn, which he can probably defend, but also the weak c4 square that I can at least plant my rook in, double, and at least have an easy thing, easy to play game with pressure. And I'm putting the pressure. So I was like, whatever. He took with the knight, which doesn't really have any attacking moves, so it's just kind of a blockader. But now I can play with these two squares, or I can go back to the start of the game. So I could have, again, put a rook on the weak square immediately, but I decided to attack a pawn immediately, knowing he couldn't defend it this way, and that even though his knight just came to the center, if he wants to defend his pawn, because he can't push, that he would have to go exactly back where he came from. And that once that happened, I was going to put my rook in here and double to add a third attacker, and just cause problems for him. Engine actually likes this move first. He can't go here anyway, right? And I can double. And that's also awkward for him. I like that too. I did this move. He basically has to go here to defend, but he doesn't. He goes here to defend. The problem with this defense is that I can just kick it, I'm pretty sure, which is what I did. Let me turn off the lines. So he knows that if he moves back, he just loses the pawn and, well, the game. So um, instead of moving the pawn, he counterattacks my bishop, saying, I get a piece, he gets a piece, no problem. But I saw here that if I take and he takes, he still has these two weaknesses. And because I have double pawns here, these are also two more weaknesses. So he's got four weaknesses. This, all these squares. And I can plant rooks on these squares, on either one or on both, or on one and then double behind the other, with the other rook. So I said positionally that has to be just winning, or there's no way I can lose it. I can only pressure him. Oops. So yeah, that's what I did. He took, and then I said, okay, this is just begging to be played. A rook here, supported by two pawns, pressuring this weakness, occupying this weakness, and also pressuring, well, threatening to win a pawn. So that's just, and you could see how now black is just completely winning better. If I flip the board, um, like white at first looks like he has something, but yeah, that's if he has a queen here. Without it, all he really has is weaknesses. These weaknesses are untouchable. They deep freeze these pawns, which can never move. Um, and basically, it's piece activity. His rooks, they have nothing to do but stay and rotate in his, go back and forth a million times. Whereas my rooks have ideas and targets. So definitely black is way better. So he goes, to challenge it, which makes sense. Um, looks like you can double here. Also looks like you can ignore and probably just attack this pawn, which cannot be defended by a piece because this pawn's in the way. What did I do? I went here. So if I double, he's not going to go back because he loses this with check. So he'll take and I'll take, and then he'll defend this pawn with like h3. Then I can go here, and then that should still be winning. But I went here saying this is indefensible, so it's kind of the same thing. He goes h4, that's just lashing out. That's just a cry for help. Doesn't actually do anything. I take a free pawn. He takes my rook. I undouble my pawns. Um, Now I'm up a pawn with a great structure and a rook already attacking his weakness. All I really got to do is, I don't know, basically use my rook to get behind his pawns and win them. Because all this space is good when you have minor pieces on the board, but when it gets to heavy pieces, all of this space just creates lateral weaknesses that my rooks and my queens can get in here. Whereas your lateral doesn't actually do anything because you're not getting behind stuff. It's just you are the thing that I underestimated here was that this f6 pawn, even without a queen, my back rank I can get mated. Now obviously, with something like h5, I'm not getting mated, but so it's not a real problem. But I think it actually came into play. Let me see. He pushed, and what did I do? I gave him a check. Why would I do that? I'm assuming that I did that because once he moves his king somewhere, I thought I would get behind this pawn, which cannot be defended. But after rook f2, not sure where my rook's going, and no reason to trade. So I really don't like this move. I don't know why I did it. Um, in hindsight, in hindsight, I like b5, just solidifying this and making sure he can't play it. I like rook b3, pressuring both these pawns. Also, so he can never push again. Also, my rook is protected here. Um, and I also like, does d4 work? d4, pawn takes pawn, rook takes rook, king takes rook, and then pawn takes pawn, pawn takes pawn, b5, King e4, King f8, d5, or maybe not because e takes d, king takes d. Then I have c3, and he can't stop it, so he can't do that, but he can go back and just stop it. I could run my king up, but I'm not sure if that works. What are the moves here? g5, b5, rook a2 check. That makes no sense. b5 makes sense. g5 makes sense to just stop this, but it doesn't need to be stopped. Um, rook a2, but only to bring it back to a3, so that's useless. Oh, the engine's not helpful at all. What did I do? Oh yeah, so I gave a check. He dodges it. I feel like he should have challenged me instead of dodging it. This this allows me to go here and attack this pawn. Also, he had 19 seconds at this point, so I was just making threats. So I attacked this pawn thinking there's no way for him to defend it, and that would just be GG. But I actually missed that this is a blunder. Or is it? No, it's not a blunder. If I take this pawn, it's a blunder. And I didn't see it at the time because he was running out of time and I was just attacking things. But there is this concept where he can push h6 here. And if I take this pawn, now my rook can't get back in time. So if he goes here, it doesn't matter what I do with my rook. If I bring it back here, or if I give a check and take this pawn, because whichever one of those I do, like let's say I give the check and take the pawn, he brings his rook to the a file where I can't contest it. And now if I go here, it's checkmate. And if I don't do that stuff with my rook, and I run my king, then he goes here. I still have to run with my king. He gives me the check. I have to go here. He gives me the check. No, he doesn't give me the check. Because then we repeat. He goes behind my pawn, and I can't defend it anymore. And so no matter what I do, he takes this with check, and then no matter what I do, well, actually, if he took this way, no. At the very least, he can just move to the side to push this. So why not take? Maybe just take. And then you just, um, wait a second. It's actually quite complicated. No, he has to be winning. He has to be winning with these two here. But I just, too dumb to figure it out. But no, he's definitely winning, I think. Let's put on the lines. Rook takes h7. Yeah, that's what I said. King e5. Nope. Let's go here. King g5. No way. No wonder why I couldn't figure it out, because this is the move. King g5. Just fucking, oops, just babying the pawn. Holding it by the hand. So there's nothing for me to do. Wait, so if he goes here, rook, he has to stop it. And now it's my turn. And I need to stop both of his pawns. Can I do that? No. So now he goes here. I have to stop it with the rook. guess. But then f7. If I take this, he queens. If I move my king, he could just check me, and then I have to block. But then he can. Wait a second. This check does nothing. But if he queens and forces this, which king f6. Okay, so this is not easy at all to see. And there's no way you're going to see all this from the start. And you have to see weird king moves. Like, this is the only move that wins. King g6. It's insane. Letting the guy queen just so he can. King e7. Wow, this is nuts. It's not even worth it. It's not worth it. But anyway, so yeah, like I was saying, there's this idea, which I didn't see, but he lost on time. So it's a pretty good game. They gave me a 2200. What do they want me to retry? They want me to retry this rook move, which still not 100% or even 80% sure why or what's wrong with it. I do, however, think that this can't be a bad move. C takes D. And then put a rook here, right? Because then if he does any weird shenanigans, I can still ignore it. I wonder if this is a move. No, this blunders. That blunders things. And if you take, it should be pretty bad. Yeah, yeah, this looks bad. There would be no reason to do this. Your king is weak. No more knights defending it. And so in this case, if you just ignore it, um, what does he do? Does he ever take? No. Does he ever take here? No. Pushing really seems like the only thing to try to get an advantage, or leaving it here. Okay. So what else do they want me to try? This one, I retried it. I would take here if not what I did. Great move, thanks. Thanks for your emotional support, friend. Oh, so that was it. That was the one move in the game. They they can call this an inaccuracy all they want. This is completely winning. Um, this they even recommended this, and this is still not a mistake because you can just go right back after this. So just this rook c8. Still not sure why exactly. Let's see. So I got 2200. We got, I don't know, 8 free low points from this guy or something. 6, 7. Thank you, CV, for your points. I appreciate the donation. We'll keep climbing to get to 2000. Try new stuff, learn some new things. Um, See you guys next time.